Thank you very much for being here again. To colleagues in the back, just want to say that there are plenty of seats in front, so please come closer. My name is Davide Sofia. I'm a program executive here at Friends of Europe. And for this session, AI, artificial intelligence, a critical driver of change, I'm truly honored to be here with two exceptional speakers. Laura Cozzi, who is Director of Sustainability, Technology and Outlooks at the International Energy Agency. She's a well-renowned expert on the energy system, and she's the co-leader of the World Energy Outlook, which is their flagship publication on global analysis and projections. And Adam Ellman, who is Director of Sustainability for Google in Europe, the Middle East and Africa. He's also an extremely accomplished sustainability expert with 20 years of experience in some of the world's most influential companies. So thank you again for being here. This is a session that is very important for us. We've been talking about artificial intelligence in many occasions and in different ways. And we'll have some time to think about the two-way and very tight connection between this technology and the energy system. So you might know that, of course, I said new, and this was a mistake because the concept of artificial intelligence is definitely not new. But in the last couple of years, we have witnessed an incredible acceleration, and this is told by data. If you think about since 2022, the market capitalization of AI-related companies in the S&P 500 has increased by $12 trillion. And so artificial intelligence is showing to be an extremely consequential technology for the economy at large, but also for our lives. It's part of our daily lives. And we see that it's a technology that can bring and brings already a lot of efficiency and operational gains. It can do it for the energy sector. It can do it in many different sectors. It has been exploited in many cases already by the oil and gas industry, and we see it used as well in electricity generation, in transmission, and also to optimize energy consumption. Don't want to spoil too much the conversation that we're going to have in the upcoming session, but we'll see also the role that it has in electricity grids as well. So at the same time, the more the technology goes forward, we see that data centers especially bring a question in terms of the increase that we see in electricity consumption, which is by scenarios showing that it will potentially double in the next 5 years, so up to 2030. So I think that there is a lot to debate. As I said, it's a two-way connection. And in the program that you have received today at the event, in one of the first pages, you'll see that we have some data from our citizen engagement unit, Debating Europe. And on the bottom right, there is a small graph talking about a question that we asked to young citizens in 5 European countries, more than 2,000 citizens. We asked them, do you think that AI can support climate action, can support climate change? And I think what's striking from that data is that about 1/3 of the people that we asked, they didn't know. They didn't have a clear opinion. So this means that not only this is a question, what we're going to discuss today, it's a question about policy, but it's also a question about citizens. Like young people right now, they haven't made up their mind. They don't know, maybe. They don't know exactly what it entails. And that's why we think it's important to address this question in a moment in which we see mounting citizens' concern. We see a lot of not in my backyard policy, and also, the fears of blackouts that are leading maybe governments to stop the development of data centers in specific areas of Europe and the world. So I think that this I'll just wanted to make a quick introduction for the speakers for this session, but as we've done before on our spotlight session on critical raw materials, I would like to bring you in as well. So we're going to have another Slido poll that can be brought up on the screen right now. Oh, I think It's coming. At the end of these slides, it's supposed to be there. Yes. So this is the poll. You can use the QR code, scan it with your phone, just give a quick answer, and then we'll delve right into the panel conversation. I think once again we see a bit of the same, a lot of data that it's a bit mixed between somewhat agree, somewhat disagree, but we'll have time also to comment with you in the room. Okay. So maybe before going on to this, I first would like to welcome Laura to give maybe an introductory presentation, on what is the current outlook for the development of data centers, what the current scenarios tell us in terms of the future role in the energy system, and also what the IEA has done recently with your report on energy and artificial intelligence. Thanks a lot.
So thank you very much, Davide, for this introduction. And I would like to say that actually I'm not surprised about this picture, and neither from your question to young citizens about the role of AI on climate change. However, I bet that if you had asked if the young citizens know what the AI can do for homeworks, you would have had 100% answer that they absolutely do know what can do for homeworks. So I really believe that what's happening now is that we are really at the very beginning of the AI uptake in certain applications, and certainly the energy sector is one of, even if oil and gas, for example, has been using it for quite some time, but generative intelligence and in general AI uptake in the energy sector is relatively low. So we should start from that, and therefore not knowing what's going to happen, I think it's definitely a fair question. So we are at the IEA, we work on energy, and I have to say that last year, 2024, any energy conference was an AI conference. So we felt like we really needed to start understanding what AI is in terms of being different or the same compared to other energy loads. So what we did was really starting with the data. I have to tell you already with this data on AI, energy consumption in data center is poor and not very clear. So let's start with that. You don't go out on the internet and find very clearly how much a data center consumes today. So we had to do quite a lot of work on that. And I want to tell you, maybe if you can get up on the slides, I want to show you something that is not just a nice chart we did, is actually looking at there are around 11,000 data centers in the world today, and we have actually mapped where they are and where are they vis-a-vis, grazie, and where are they vis-a-vis urban areas. And we compare them with other similar loads. And what you can see is already something that is very peculiar to data centers that you don't see in other similar energy loads. They are very, very close to urban areas, which means that very often they connect to grids that are already loaded. So there is already one specificity. Again, this is not a chart we created. This is the current average situation in the world today. And of these 11,000 data centers, is not that they are equally distributed around the world. You have 3 parts of the world where they are located. It's the United States, first and foremost, then China and the EU. These account for around 85% of data centers in the world today. So the other specificity is that actually, when you build a data center, then you like to build the next data center, you expand it, instead of actually going and finding a new place. So they are already large loads, and they tend to become bigger and bigger. So the US is a typical example, and I'm sure that Adam will tell you much better than me what are the economic and strategic reasons why you tend to actually increase then the demand over time. Why do you do this clustering? It's not the same for a steel plant. is not the same for a coal mine, right? Very, very different. So you have a load, and this load is likely to increase over time. And finally, how much do they consume? So today, the hyperscale today is around the equivalent of having a small town of 100,000 households. The largest under construction is in the US, 2 million households. The largest announced is in India, 5 million households. So it's becoming larger and larger. So very close to urban centers, large load, becoming larger, and tend to cluster. So these are pretty unique characteristics that we see for AI that we don't necessarily see for other type of energy consumption. But then let's try to put the things in perspective. Of course, this is one of the many areas that are consuming electricity today. So what we did is really track and polish a lot of the data. And what you can see actually very, very close to what Davide has said, you had data centers electricity demand have been quite stable over the past several years because huge efficiency improvements were actually counterbalancing the larger use we were all making of digital. Then we started seeing a change because you start seeing generative AI coming in. And this is where you start seeing electricity demand growing. But how much it is today globally is just 1.5% of the global electricity needs. So in global terms, it's not huge. Locally, it is huge, but not globally. So the expectation now is that this will continue to rise very strongly. Data centers can be used also for AI, not only for AI, but we do expect that the AI optimized part is the one that will increase the electricity demand going forward. The number that Davide mentioned, this is our base case. It could go faster. It could go even slower. So I think what is an interesting point here for people that are working on energy for a long time, here we're talking of a business that is very, very fast. So you build a data center in 18 months. Normally, when you build a factory, it takes much longer. Now, I have to say that for the electricity sector, grid operator, building a power plant, there is a very big disconnect in terms of time horizon. So here we have two industries that have very different pace that need to start talking to each other in a much more coordinated manner. Now, globally, I think I want you to really focus on this. If you look at globally, it's not data centers that will drive electricity demand going forward. It's still going to be industry, electricity, appliances, space cooling is in certain countries. Having said this, in certain regions of the world, AI will matter hugely. In the US, for example, our expectation is that by 2030, AI load will be as large as the entire heavy industry today. So imagine what heavy industry has done over the past century, AI is going to do in the span of less than a decade in terms of energy load. So this is a bit the picture. Yes, growing very fast. Some uncertainties on the pace, different type of characteristic than other energy loads, but still not a major driver globally of electricity demand. And I would stop here.
Thank you very much, Laura. I would maybe just turn then directly to Adam. I mean, as a very involved actor in the sphere, I imagine you have both an opinion on what you've seen before with the poll, what Laura has just said, but also I think maybe the question to Google would be, where do you find maybe practically the connections between artificial intelligence and the energy system? And
no, absolutely. And thank you for convening this important conversation. And actually, we partner with the IEA on this research. We felt it was really important. And I think, you read the headlines out there, they're often very different than the sort of facts. But actually, accelerating AI adoption really, we believe, has a huge opportunity both to fast track Europe's work on its 2050 climate target, but also driving a competitive advantage to Europe, security and resiliency. And actually, we don't have to sort of think about this as a future opportunity. These solutions exist today. So I'm just going to give you a few concrete solutions of how this technology is helping today. Hopefully, many of you use Google Maps. One of the ways it's helping is with drivers on a solution we call fuel-efficient routing, which uses AI to process vast sets of data very quickly to surface up the most fuel-efficient route if it's not already. So you might have seen a little green leaf saying this route's, 3 minutes slower, but saves you 15% in fuel. We're now processing, we've deployed this around the world, we're now looking at 500 million routes every single month. Last year, this is estimated to have saved 2.7 million tons worth of emissions. That's the same as taking 630,000 fuel-based cars off the road every single year. So that's one way it's helping in transportation. If you take the energy sector, we have a solution called Solar API. This uses satellite imagery, so geospatial information, along with AI, to help analyze the solar potential of rooftops. It allows solar developers and operators to move much more quickly with far more accurate information, giving them the solar potential, the financial information, helping them design far more efficiently. We now cover 540 million buildings, including much of Europe. And again, this is really helping with the uptake of solar. To put this in perspective, last year, we estimated it saved 6 million tons worth of lifetime emissions, and that number continues to grow as these solutions roll out. One more sort of example in the mitigation space, actually in the aviation sector. So if you've ever seen those thin white lines behind an aircraft, those are called contrails. What's really surprising is they account for 1/3 of the emissions from flying. And again, we've been using geospatial data and AI to figure out when they occur, when they don't occur, and how airlines can avoid them. And we've tried this in the real world, and we've cut those by 54%. So 1/3 of emissions cut in half, with very little cost. And actually, we're now piloting this in Western European airspace, the busiest airspace on the planet, with our partner Eurocontrols. So there's a lot of examples that are happening today that are having impact today, but it's also not just in the sort of climate mitigation space, it's also helping with climate adaptation. I don't need to tell this audience the issues in terms of the increase in frequency of weather disasters and the intensity of those. So we're using AI to help, for example, with flood forecasting. So we've built an advanced hydrological model, which when used with local data, we can now predict riverine flooding up to 7 days in advance. So that's helping communities, individuals, aid agencies and governments really protect people. We're using similar technology to look at, for example, wildfires, understand when they're happening, show those boundaries on Google Maps, send out alerts. You know, that's been used in recent times in Portugal, in Greece. And this is really helping to save lives, helping agencies take action. So, you know, the technology is here today. It's already having an impact, but it has to be adopted and really scaled up to really deliver on the goals that we all want to make progress on.
But maybe if I can come back on a point that you just made. I mean, you mentioned the targets and how artificial intelligence can support it, but what do you think when it comes to the infrastructure, so data centers and anything that is related to the development of the technology? What do you think that digital sector in general can do to make sure that such development is done in alignment with these targets and climate change as well? I mean, Laura has mentioned that there is a mismatch indeed between how much it takes to build the data centers and maybe how much it takes to build a power plant to power it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, look, we take this very seriously. And so, you know, we think there's a bold opportunity with AI here, but we need to deliver it responsibly. It's something we've focused on for many years. So we want to build and operate the most efficient data center infrastructure in the world. And we do. Our data centers are some of the most energy efficient in the world. Actually, to put it in perspective, compared to 6 years ago, we deliver over 5 times the amount of compute power. Sorry, compared to 5 years ago, over 6 times the amount of compute power for the same amount of energy. So we're getting very good at driving efficiency. And by the way, there's commercial reasons why we would want to do that as well. We also want to be a lot more transparent. As I say, we've been partnering with the IEA, but recently we published a detailed methodology measuring the energy, carbon, and water impact of Gemini, our main AI model. And we've put that out into the public domain. And actually what it showed is, first of all, over the last year, so over 12 months, there's been a 33x improvement in the energy efficiency of our model as we continue to drive efficiency there. And actually, to put it in perspective, one median Gemini text prompt is about the same as watching television for 9 seconds and uses about 5 drops of water. So, you know, that all adds up. But again, just making sure we can put the right information out there so everyone's dealing with the facts. But obviously, efficiency isn't enough. Alongside efficiency, we need to focus on bringing clean energy to the grid. At Google, we're one of the largest buyers of clean energy on the planet. Just here in Europe, we've put 4.5 gigawatts worth of capacity onto the grid, and we're continuing to invest in wind and solar. But globally, we're also investing in new technologies, whether that's advanced nuclear, advanced geothermal. We've done the first corporate deal for fusion as a future bet. But also we're working on grid enhancing technology, long duration, short duration battery storage. So yes, we're very focused on making sure we can run these operations very efficiently so that actually we can use this technology to make progress on climate, make the scientific breakthroughs, and also deliver this competitive advantage, which is clearly so important as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Adam. I think I will take the last words that you mentioned. Going back to Laura, I think that I wanted to also give you the opportunity maybe to think more on a global perspective. We recently interviewed one of your colleagues talking about exactly the report that you released on energy AI, and in terms of the placement of data centers where we see across the world, we have a lot of them in the US, a lot of them in China, and just 15% are located in Europe. I think from in your perspective, can Europe harness maybe the benefits of the technology? Is it too late? Where is it placed exactly?
So first of all, I would say maybe going one step backwards from energy and then 3 steps back into energy again. I don't think Europe can afford itself to stay out of the AI race. It's just impossible. And it's not just because of homework of the kids, it's because this is becoming a very inherent technology for defense and for everything that we do in terms of optimization of our work and industries. For the past year and a half, we have partnered with Google and many of the other big tech companies. I have to say they've been incredibly generous in terms of sharing the data and trying to make the information more and more available. And there are a couple of things that at least became clear to me. Energy is going to be a deciding factor in deciding where the next location of data centers will be. So we do have in Europe and many other places in the world a grid problem. It is here already, and it's not because of AI. We had the grid problem before. So we need to solve the grid problem regardless, and we need to work much more closely with the AI sector to use whatever they can bring, for example, dynamic rating and several other things that exist already, to open up more space on the grid and do everything that's possible to look at flexibilities, at operational flexibility that may exist, efficiencies. It's certainly one of the areas in the world where I've seen the most incredible efficiency gains, 50% year on year of new chips. We don't see it anywhere in other places in the energy sector. Having said this, we do still think that grid is going to be today deciding whether or not 1 in 5 of the data centers will actually have energy. Currently, we see that 1 in 5 of the data centers that are planned, including in Europe, will not have the energy they require. So some urgent actions is needed there. One final point that I would like to say, analysis we did, preliminary because the data is scarce, but in net terms, when you look at how much emissions will come because you need to power all this new electricity that they've seen earlier, and the potential of the savings that you could get from adopting AI more widely, the balance is you could actually get net emission savings. But there is one catch. The adoption of AI is not catching up yet to this potential emission savings. So we are here a bit of a chicken and egg place. So we need AI to enable these solutions, but the uptake of AI is relatively slow. To give you a bit of a sense of what AI, and I'm personally extremely excited about what AI could do, and we haven't experienced it yet as it should. We are just at the very beginning. Take the example of solar. What we found is that solar chemistry that have been explored in the world are just 0.1% of all the potential chemistries of solar. We as humans, on our own, we take decades to explore that. AI could do that very, very quickly. Now, in natural sciences, where AI has gotten 2 Nobel Prizes, the type of example I've made are exactly the ones where AI helped crack very complex problems. And we haven't done yet this in the energy sector. I'm thinking about sustainable fuels. I'm thinking about new chemistry for batteries and so on and so forth. So we have really a world to explore there. And I really look forward to the moment where the AI industry and the energy industries look as much as seriously at the problem space than the solution space. And I think here there is really a lot of work more that can be done.
Thank you very much, Laura. It's always extremely inspiring to listen to you. Just looking at the time, I think that I would like to ask a question to the both of you. I think international organization, you're a private company. My question to you, to the both of you, would be when it comes instead of the role of governments in all this sphere, what do you think policymakers should do to respond to deployment of AI and maybe thinking in exactly what you presented just now, so deployment that also is careful of the targets, climate change, and all the bottlenecks that we currently face on electricity grids?
Sure, happy to kick off. And I think when we talk about this AI opportunity, we really do think this requires everyone, to really partner in this space. And we spend a lot of time talking to policymakers, working with other companies, working across different sectors. But we have spent a lot of time because we think policy is so important here. And actually, we published a white paper earlier this year, really sort of outlining the recommendations we think for European policymakers to make sure they can really speed up and adopt this huge opportunity that AI brings, both for the climate opportunity, but as I say, the competitive edge as well. And that's really around sort of enablement, deploying and guiding. So on the enablement side, and we've touched on some of this, super important that have the infrastructure there, not just making sure it's available, but making sure it's affordable to everyone. We need to make sure everyone can benefit from this technology. Ramping up data collection and making data available is really key here. AI requires on having high quality data, so how do we make sure those data sets are available? But also making sure we cultivate and motivate the talent. We really need the talent to be able to develop and use these technologies. So that's a lot in the sort of enablement space. In the deployment space, particularly, again, thinking on the climate action here, we think there's a real opportunity for policymakers to leverage AI in the work that they're doing in public sector, whether that's for mitigation or for adaptation. So how can they make sure that they're using it to plan and operate their policies? And also to unblock, those blockers that are slowing down the use of AI in the private sector. And we identified 4 particular areas: the energy sector, transportation, industry, and agriculture. And again, we've outlined a series of recommendations really to help speed up in the private sector as well. And then finally, this point about being responsible as well. How can policymakers help guide sustainable use of AI, making sure there is cheap, affordable, reliable, clean energy, but also making sure and enabling data center decarbonisation. And actually, it's really great to see there has and is a lot of progress in this space. The EU has identified an opportunity to speed up and increase the deployment of data centers. There's a lot of work happening, obviously, in terms of clean energy, grid packages, connectivity as well. And there's work happening in terms of energy efficiency directives, in terms of data centers as well. So there's a lot happening, which is great. But obviously, it's important to make sure that policies are prioritised and that they're coherent. They don't overlap or conflict with existing policies. So again, we spend a lot of time trying to share our knowledge and our expertise so this policy can come and it can really accelerate the opportunity in the right way.
Thanks a lot. Back to you, Laura, maybe for the last intervention.
Really not much to add to what Adam has said here. I just want to acknowledge that DG Ener is working on producing something, especially on AI. And I think that there is a grid issue that is beyond what's happening on AI, and that has to be first and foremost fixed. And then there are the very specific areas on which AI comes in, and they've been covered by Adam. So AI developed responsibly, being part of the solution and helping to meet the targets that we have set for ourselves. I think this is all within reach, but needs a really very close collaboration and breaking a bit of the walls that currently exist in terms of data exchanges.
Okay, so thank you very much for the time that you gave to this topic. I think that many points came about and will most probably also be tackled in the session that is about to come. It's on electricity grids. We heard how much data centers are relevant, their positioning, what is their development going to look like. So I would like to thank you again for being here. Hope that we can continue the conversation, and any question that you have as audience, do always feel free to get in touch with us at Friends of Europe. We're always happy to always keep the exchange ongoing. So I would like to ask Dharmendra to come on stage to then lead on to the upcoming session. And please give a round of applause to our wonderful speakers.